programmed in. In addition to that, you need to be able to evaluate expressions. So evaluate expressions means you take an expression, you plug in a number for it, and you identify and simplify the result. And so an example of this would be the following. Evaluate the expression 3x squared plus 4x minus 5. And then it'll give you a specific value. So when x is equal to -2. Right? So if you were working through this and evaluating by hand, the first thing that you would do is what? What would you do to solve this by hand? Any ideas? Yeah. So you're just going to substitute in the value of x. And then you simply simplify the result, right? Okay, so it's a very simple process. If we were to follow these steps by hand, we take our expression 3, plug in the -2 for x, squared, plus 4, plug in the -2 for x, minus 5. And then it's just a matter of following your order of operations. So what do you do first? Multiply, grouping symbols, powers, what? So we're going to do our powers first. So, or the multiplication, or I'm sorry, the grouping symbols first. So we have parentheses. Inside of these parentheses, there's just single factors, so you don't have to do anything to them. So what we can do is we can apply the power. So -2 squared is going to happen before we multiply by a 3. So what is -2 squared? 4. And then here again we have all the same terms. So we've taken care of our powers. What we can now do is move to our multiplication division. So here we have 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times -2, -8, and a -5. And now finally our addition and subtraction. We can just combine our like terms here. 12 minus 8 is +4, minus 5 leaves a -1. And so you're able to do that by evaluating using just hand calculations. All right, now there's an easier way to do this on your calculators. Okay, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, we'll go through it. And it involves what's called the with key. And the with key is the key that is just the vertical bar. It's right next to it's to the left of the 7 or right below the equal sign. Right, the with key allows you to write an expression, and then it's basically telling the calculator you're going to take that expression, but you're going to replace the variables with whatever you identify after that with key. Okay, so if I wanted to confirm my answer here by plugging it into my calculator, I'd type in the expression exactly as it appears, including all the variables. So 3x squared plus 4x minus 5. And then I'm going to use the with key. The with key is this vertical bar. And often students will mistake that with the vertical bars on absolute values. Okay, this doesn't work as an absolute value. It works to evaluate expressions. So we're going to use the with key, and then we're going to tell it what we want to be replaced. So we wanted our x's to be replaced with, and so x equals, and then just plug in the value that x is equal to, -2. Okay, so what I did is I took the whole expression, 3x squared plus 4x minus 5, the vertical bar with x equals -2, and when I hit enter, it confirms that -1 was my correct answer. So that's the with key. It allows you to evaluate expressions. And it even allows you to evaluate expressions if you have multiple variables. And so let's say I took the following problem. And what if I took the expression 2x squared minus x plus 1 minus 2y, and you want to evaluate that when x is equal to 3 and y is equal to -2. Right? Again, you could do this by hand, and you could physically substitute in your values for x and y, and then just run down the common mathematical operations to simplify. Okay? Or you can use the with key on your calculator. In that case, you would take your entire original expression, so 2x squared minus x plus 1 minus 2y. And you're going to use the with key, that vertical bar, and then you just tell the calculator what you want to substitute in. So I want x to be 3, so x equals 3. Okay, now when you're doing multiple variables, and you do have to use the right syntax for that, and that is you have to have a space, the word and then you have to put your other variables. So anytime you have multiple variables, you space them apart with an and. Okay, so if you are using the calculator on your computers, it's easy. Just hit the space bar, type A and D, hit space, and then type y equals -2. If you're using your hand calculator, you have to create that on your own. And so to do that, we're going to go into alpha lock mode. So we're going to lock it into where it's doing the letters and not the numbers. So if we take this white button, the alpha button, click it once, and this little A appears, telling you that your next key is going to be at the alphabet key. And if you hit it a second time, it'll toggle it and darken that A. So it's basically locking that alpha mode. So now I can hit space. The space on your calculator in alpha mode is this change of sign key. You can see it over here. It's basically it looks like kind of like a white underscore, but it's a space. So hit that button. Then type the word A and D. Okay. With the exception of X, Y, Z, and T, all of the letters or all of the keys go alphabetically from left to right, starting at the equal sign. So we have A, and you can again search for the alphabet A and D. Hit space again, so that changes sign key. And now I can type Y equals -2. So the Y is already it's a key in itself, so I don't even need to be in alpha mode. If I am, it's still going to give me a Y, but I can deselect the alpha key, so now it's no longer locked in the alpha mode. And hit equals, plug in the expression, what the expression is going to be substituted, so a -2. So now once I hit enter here, it will evaluate this whole expression for me when x is 3 and y is -2. If you had more than this, if you had 3 variables or 4 or whatever, you could continue to do it in the same way. Okay. So I hit enter and I get my solution, looks like 20. All right, questions about using the with key to evaluate expressions?